Hello everyone, this is Kevin Alexander with AltaVista Technology. In this video, we're going to take a close look at Business Central's item functionality. There's a lot of good stuff packed into this area, so let's get started by first looking at item types. And into our items, we're going to use my bicycle pint glasses here as our example. And within here, the first item type kind of controls how Business Central views items. Non-inventory items are things like that you may purchase that you don't need to have stocking quantities of. Service items, maybe you have labor services or some type of professional services that you'd like to uh, sell an invoice, and that's what these would be used for. And then you have your inventory items, which are your traditional stocking items. Before we get into how Business Central manages those stocking inventory items, I'd like to take one step back and look at a really cool feature called catalog items. Now, catalog items are items that you may want to make available to your customers for their convenience, but you may not necessarily want to manage those in your system until you start selling them. So if you're thinking of like a stocking distributor who gets many line cards from their suppliers, they may want to load those items into the catalog items area, but not necessarily create inventory items for those. And so they could be loaded here within catalog items. And then when these items can be pulled up on sales orders by your folks, and then when they're added to a quote or sales order, they can be automatically converted into an item to sell and create demand in your system. Important to how inventory items are managed, you want to be able to slice and dice the inventory information up for many different reasons. Lookups for analysis purposes. And to do that, Business Central gets started with something called the item category code. And this category code, taking a look here, is a way of being able to create different categories of products that get tagged to your inventory items. And what makes these even more powerful is that with each individual tag can have its own set of attributes that go with it to even refine your item characteristics even deeper. So as an example here where I see drinkware, over here on the right, with drinkware, you can see that it asks for a material and type. And so I can say, well, these are glass, and these happen to be pint glasses. Can you imagine if these were fasteners and say maybe bolts or motors as an example, where you want to have things like horsepower, thread count, material type. Uh, you can classify them even deeper here, and then to be able to search by attributes inside of Business Central. And taking the item categories a little bit further, I use this picture of pint glasses as a representation for another piece of functionality within items called variants. And so here we have these different pint glasses, but they all have different colored logos on them. So you may want to stock uh, several different colors, but not necessarily have to have a different item number for it, but you can have a different variant. So you could have a item number 1005 with a variant of red as an example. So let's take a look at those. So we can go in here to actions and go to item and look at variants. And here are all the different variant codes that have been established for this particular item 1005. And Business Central will now track quantities specific to the item code and the variant. So on sales orders and purchase orders as an example, you can now have a single part number and use variant codes. So very good for things using colors, or maybe uh, if I have bolts again that maybe have the same thread count but maybe have different links or material types. So very nice way of being able to track and segregate inventory under a single part number. Now, along with this item number of 1005, it's also helpful to be able to have additional cross references or substitutions for these particular part numbers. So to take a look at those, we can go ahead and dive into navigate, and over here we can come to item and we can select cross references. And here you can define cross references for a few different types: customer, vendor, or even a barcode. So if you have customers who like you to refer to their particular part number, you could do that here. Same with vendors. And so vendors, there's an area that has a default vendor reference, but it's possible that you've got multiple vendor references. So example for something like that might be batteries, right? Like AAA batteries. AAA batteries or AAA batteries, perhaps regardless of what the type or the manufacturer of those batteries are. And for barcodes as well. So maybe that you have your suppliers send you those batteries and they all have different barcodes on them, but to you they're all one, this particular part number, like 1005. So if I was happen to be buying these pint glasses from multiple folks. And then what happens if someone requests this particular item and you don't have it available at that point in time? So you can have substitutions as well. So we'll go ahead and navigate our way over to substitutions, and you can have substitutions available here as well. And those can be both items and those catalog items we talked about earlier. So very helpful, right? If you want to be able to pull those or reference those catalog items quickly on a sales order in case you have an item that may not be available for your customers at that time. So the item tracking codes in Business Central are pretty unique. In most cases, in other systems, when you have a lot or serial controlled item, that lot number, serial number needs to be provided every time that product or an item is touched within inside your facility. With Business Central, these tracking codes basically are settings to say when does a lot or serial number need to be provided. So does it need to be provided at receipt, during inventory movement, at time of sale, at time of transfer? And so you get to control when that number it needs to be provided within the system. Having the ability to have different units of measure for the same item can be very helpful. So at one point, you could have a base unit of measure, how you want to refer to your item. You can have a separate sales unit of measure, and you could even have a purchasing unit of measure. And then you're able to bring those all together in one area. So if we navigate over here to item and units of measure, we can see here for our item 1005, our pint glass, that we have these different ways that we refer to that item in stock codes. And in this case, look here, where we stock it by eaches, but we also have those in boxes, and a box contains 6 of the eaches, and some also other information here regarding that box size dimensions, which gives us an ultimate cube, and then the weight of the item. So you can see this really helpful when you start to uh, play into your sales order and shipping process or purchasing process, where cube and weight come into play um, for both of those functions. Business Central has a really robust replenishment um, engine, and we're going to take just a brief look. Just this area alone, we could spend literally hours on. So let's dive in really quick and get a feel for how Business Central handles replenishment. So using our item here, 1005, let's scroll down to the replenishment area. Now, on an item, you can see there's some replenishment characteristics, how this item happens to be replenished, uh, if there's lead time, what the primary vendor is, and some other characteristics here. And then if we go into the planning section, right, that planning section dives a little deeper and gets into lead time and our safety lead time and what our reorder points are and reorder quantities and how um, that reorder policy should work. So are we fixed order? Are we maximum? Do we look at it on a sales order by sales order basis as an example here? Now, Business Central is a multi-location application, meaning I can have more than one location where I keep inventory items. And in doing so, I want to see availability by location as well. So we're able to go into navigate in availability, and we can look at item availability in many different ways. And what's interesting here is that we'll just start out looking at by location. And so we can look at it by location. And so you can see here are my locations. And I can even take a look at, if I'd like to look at these in different time periods. So location is one way to be able to look at items. Another way to look at availability is we talked a little bit by variant code right before. So these pint glasses come in different colors. So if I click on variant, I can now look at each of these pint glasses and availability by different variant code. You notice that Business Central not just gives me what the on-hand balance is, but it also will give me what the gross requirement is. Do I have scheduled or planned receipts, projected available balances, and planned order releases? So very comprehensive way of being able to take a look at what my inventory position is for a particular item, right? And let's just take one other unique look here. And I want to look at this by what they call event. So if we come into events, events are showing me what transactions are driving my inventory. So here I'm looking at this, I'm viewing by day, and I can come down here and let's drill into that. And here you can see I've got a sales order that is actually driving the demand for this item. And based on that, it will show you, oh, my stock position for that particular item is going to change based on certain events. So I can look at events in different ways. So maybe days a little too granular. Maybe I want to look at this by week. And so I could come up here and look at it by week. And again, I just have that one sales order in there, but you kind of get the idea that we can now look in different time frames for how our inventory position is going to change and who's affecting that change. And with each item, there's lots of statistical information that I might want to analyze. So as an example, let's just look at some statistical information. And turnover is kind of one of those critical numbers that people like to understand how inventory is performing. In other words, the investment they're making in inventory. And so if I come in here to our bicycle pint glass again, I can look at this in any particular time frame I'd like to. And then I can get a snapshot, right, of the purchases, purchase dollars, what we've sold, and sales dollars by uh, just really going into this quick statistical area. And you can look at both by net change and balance of dates as well. So a very quick way of being able to analyze your inventory using the statistics functions within Business Central without having to run a lot of reports, right, and generate a lot of paper. So I can do it right here on screen as those questions come up to me. Now, as a buyer or purchaser, or even a customer service person within an organization, sometimes it's nice to have a little help in what it is that I need to do. In other words, what items I might need to put my eyes on and do a little more analyzation, or create purchase orders for. So there's a couple nice features inside Business Central. The first is a forecast feature, and over here in the fact box pane, you can see for this particular item, here's the forecasts for this particular item out by month. And forecasts can be run by month, or I can look at the sales forecast in here as well. And this uses Azure Learning to actually analyze the activity for an item within inside Business Central, and then return forecast results back to us. And there's some configuration in how that particular logic works, but nice to know that I don't need to run a report in order to get an idea of what my inventory or sales forecast needs might be. The other is be able to use the requisition worksheet. And the requisition worksheet looks at all the supply and demand in the system, and then helps me understand what I need to do in order to keep things balanced, right? And we can go up to our actions here, and we can hit the requisition worksheet. And this worksheet's running wide open at the moment. And what you can see it's come back for, as we're looking at this product 10005, right? But remember, I've got this in many colors, right? So it's really showing me by location as well as by variant for each of the different colors here about what it is I need to be doing here. And you can see down here at the bottom, we're also seeing this additional share down there that needs to be purchased. And what the requisition worksheet will do for us is give us that inventory position, when it's due, what vendor it needs to be bought from, and even more importantly, if I happen to have purchase orders or requisitions currently sitting in the system that maybe I don't need anymore and that maybe perhaps need to be canceled. And then from here, we can go ahead and purchase these items if we wish to create the PO and send those out to our suppliers. Now, that all comes down to the end of the day of where all this information ends up, right? And all this needs to create distributions based on the different type of transaction. And so how does Business Central do that? So to help set the distributions for transaction with items, we work with a couple different fields that give us a way of being able to even categorize items even deeper. One of them is general product posting group, and the other is inventory posting group. So think of the inventory posting group when I might have an adjustment to inventory and what accounts need to be hit and how those distributions are created. And then with the general product posting group, think of that where I've got a customer or a vendor, right? And I've got and they have their own general product posting group or general business posting group, I should say. And as that matches up against the item general product posting group, it tells us what accounts will be used for those distributions. So let's take a real quick look at what that matrix looks like here by going into the general posting setup. So I'll type that right into the search engine here, and we'll go to general posting setup. And here's that matrix here. And so here's the general business posting group, and this is coming from your customer or your vendor. And then here we have the general product posting group, which is coming from the item itself. And as we start to kind of slide across here, you can see this matrix where these match up. What are the accounts that we want to hit as part of the distributions for those transactions? And so you can have as many general business posting and general product posting groups as you want. So another way of being able to classify your inventory items for analysis. So, and then, having looked at the general posting setup, right? All that information are transactions, right? Ultimately end up in the general ledger. But for the item itself, I might want to go in and look at all of the transaction history for an item. And we can do that right here on the item card by navigating over to history and entries here and looking at ledger entries. And in ledger entries, this is showing me all of the entry types have been made by date for that item through time, and what those adjustments have been made up of, and what the sales and cost of goods amount have been for that particular item over those transactions. So I get all that detail right here by diving into that item ledger entries, and again, without having to run reports to do my analysis. Thank you for joining me for a glimpse of Business Central's item functionality. I hope you found this video useful. We'll see you again soon with another Business Central video that explores sales order management. In the meantime, please contact us if you'd like to learn more about Business Central. If you liked the video, please hit that thumbs up, and if it's your first time with us, click that subscribe button to stay current on all our content. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.